was 1985, and I was 24 years old. I had just gotten hired to be a professional puppeteer. And this was directly after I had spent one whole year delivering balloonograms. And I would go into bars, bar mitzvahs, weddings, barbecues, banks, and bring in giant bouquets of helium balloons. And I would sing, dance, and play the kazoo about 6 to 10 times a day. So getting hired as a puppeteer seemed like a real step forward. And it was a great job. There were a small crew of us, all of them recent college grads with different types of art degrees, and we just immersed ourselves in the world of puppetry. We were surrounded by years and years of puppets in the studio. We were given pretty much free rein. We traveled around, we performed in different venues, we did artist in residencies in schools. It was pretty great. Well, one of the primary other puppeteers was a beautiful man who was probably the most creative man I've ever met in my life. He was the primary maker and designer of the puppets, and he was extremely attractive. And I found myself really hoping he found me attractive, which he did. And so luckily, we became boyfriend and girlfriend. And this was kind of a very magical time. We had like hundreds of puppets looking down on us in our madness in the puppet studio, and it was pretty great. But about a year into our relationship, he announced to me that he needed to go on a solo journey to Italy to discover his familial roots and to go to a puppetry festival in France. Now, when you're in love with someone for the first time, as we both were, your whole day is filled with that person. If they disappear, like, what are you supposed to do? I was devastated. I was supportive, and I said, of course, you should go to France and Italy and do all those things. But inside, I was very hurt. But we said our goodbyes, and soon afterwards, I got a brilliant idea. I thought I would just go to France and surprise him at the puppetry festival. And I did. I tried to anyway. I bought a ticket to London. Now, I'd never traveled by myself in my life. And so I flew to London. I found myself a way to get to the boat. There was no channel. And I took a horrific boat ride across the English Channel. And then I got on a train, and I trained it all the way to this little town in northern France. It took hours and hours, and I arrived in this town, and I was exhausted, and I was delirious, but determined, because I was going to find my boyfriend. And I knew that he was going to be camping, so I started asking around. Luckily, there was just one campground in this town, so I found myself at the campground. And I started looking around at the campground, and I saw a two-man orange tent. I knew he had a two-man orange tent. And as I got closer, I saw his shoes outside the tent. Now I was frantically I had no plan. I showed up there, I came all of this way with this passion to reunite with my boyfriend, but I'm actually here now and I don't know what to do. At the last minute before I left, I stuffed one of our puppets into my backpack. And these were squishy puppets with they were made of foam. And some of them, and not all of them, but this type of puppet I brought, you glue it onto a shirt. And so what you would do is you put your hand over your head into the head of the puppet, and then you bring the shirt down over you, and you put your arm into the sleeve of the character. So, you were only seen from the hips down. And so I put the puppet on, and I go up to his tent, and I say, hey, who's in that tent there? Come out here right now. You better come out here. I'm warning you. Oh, God. I'm having some serious self-doubt right now. I up to this very moment, I had never considered the fact that he might not want to see me, actually. That I am busted in on his parade. What if he doesn't want to see me? But at that moment, I'm having all this self-doubt. I see the zipper coming up on the tent, and I'm kind of frozen there with my little puppet on, and out pops his head. And he's looking at a puppet that he made and that he did not bring to France. So the look on his face was just utter shock. And so I took my moment and I ran. I ran. I had this notion of I'll just run through these trees, and then I'll outrun him, and I'll just run out of the campground. I'll grab my backpack, and he'll never know who it was. It'll be it'll be awesome. Well, unfortunately, it's very dark inside the puppet. So no sooner had I started to run, and then I fell flat on my face. Yeah, and he was like right behind me. And so he's pulling up the puppet, and I'm just inside like cringy, like, it's me. Like, this is so awkward. Oh, I'm just apologizing, and he's just like, what, how did you, what? He's kind of speechless. He can't even get a sentence out, and I'm just like, I know it's terrible. I know it's weird, right? I'm so sorry. And we get up and we brush ourselves off, and we kind of get ourselves together. I am mortified at this point. We spend a few days together at this festival. I'm jammed into his little two-man tent. He's forced to spend time with me. And we meet amazing people from all over the world, and we see amazing shows, but in my heart, I think I should not be here. So I tell him I'm leaving. And I left, and I have no memory of traveling back home. I don't really even remember it. And he would write me letters and beautiful cards and illustrations, and I still have them, actually. And he came back a few months later, but our relationship was really never the same after that. But as time has a way of doing it, it softens things, and we both moved on, and he still makes puppets to this day. We've always wished each other well on our birthdays. And as for me, I've gotten slightly less impulsive, and maybe a tiny bit more self-reflective. But I miss the wildness of that time. I miss the spontaneity and the creativity and the freedom that I had to do such a crazy thing. But I also, in my older years, realized like these memorable moments always seem to be the moments of kind of sometimes the messiest decisions. Thank you.